Now, live from Whitney Media, 1460 WVOX, the Greenburgh Report, with Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner. You can join in the conversation at 914-636-0110. Now on 1460 WVOX, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Hi, my name's Paul Feiner. I'm the Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and today we have an interesting show. Constituent of mine, Esther Berkowitz, recommended that I interview Pierre Guillet, who's a tugboat captain, an award-winning filmmaker from the Bronx, and he focuses on people who are on the fringes of society. He recently produced, or the past year, produced a film, Bristol Fashion, and that's a narrative film. It's currently available to stream on Amazon, and it's a film about a young transgender woman who escapes her troubled home to find solace in a dilapidated boatyard. So thank you, Pierre, for joining us, and maybe we could start by you just telling us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me, and thanks, Esther, for the recommendation. I grew up in the Bronx, and I grew up in the marina that the film takes place, and it was about a mile away from a movie theater. That was sort of my escape and where my love for cinema started.
I see you have a tattoo with a picture of a camera.
Yeah, that's actually my son, and it's the logo for my company. It's all part of the aesthetic of being a boat captain. That's why I have a big beard, very much in character.
That's great. So as a tugboat captain, is that a full-time job, being a tugboat captain?
I do it freelance in the New York area. I go where the work is. I was just in Rhode Island for a few weeks. It's interesting. It's a totally different perspective of the city that I have, and that's why it also related with this film, because most of the film takes place in the boatyard that I grew up in. So
as a filmmaker, you get your ideas from sometimes being on the boat?
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of from real life inspiration. You know, that's why as an independent filmmaker, you have to use what you have access to.
Great. I was going to ask about, producing a film. You read that, it's so expensive. And when you produced Bristol Fashion, was that an expensive movie to produce?
For me, it was. For the grand scheme of the industry, it was not. It took a long time, and that's because we had limited funding. We actually shot the film originally in 2018, and it took a long time in post-production, editing, fixing all the audio, and we finally released it in June of 2022.
How much would a film cost generally? About,
There's different tiers, but even low budget is above $1 million sometimes. Then there's ultra low. There's, when you're working totally independent where I am, you're not even getting above $500,000.
Could you tell us a little bit about Bristol Fashion?
Yeah, so you mentioned the log line of the film. It was something that I'd been working on for a while because we had access to this barge where there was an apartment inside. So that's where the story originated from. We had access to this setting, and then it was just figuring out what's happening, who are the characters, why is this happening. So we actually caught somebody filming a skit in the marina that was very negative and distasteful against a trans person. And that's when we came up with the idea, well, what if a trans person actually came to this marina? How would it be received? And then obviously we'd have to do it the right way. We're for inclusion, and we wanted it to be an authentic story because neither myself or my producing partners are part of that community. So casting was very, very long. And because we wanted to have somebody that could contribute to the story. So when we finally found Leah Nayeli, who plays the lead, she was actually living in a homeless shelter at the time. And she delivered an excellent table read, really wanted to contribute to the story, and that's why she has a writing credit, because most of the story is helped from her.
What's she doing now?
Now she's trying to find work. I think it's been hard with the COVID pandemic, and she's still trying to bounce back from that. But the reception from the film, especially for her performance, has been outstanding.
So that's really fantastic. So basically, what you did is you gave her a chance, and you gave her an opportunity, and somebody who had tough luck. It probably built her confidence as well.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, she's the star of the show. She carries the film.
That is great. We have to take a break, and we'll be back in a couple minutes with Pierre Guillet, and he's a tugboat captain, and his film Bristol Fashion. If you want to see it, you could see the screening July 22nd at 5 p.m. at PNT Knitwear, 180 Orchard Street in New York, 10002, and you could also get a copy on Amazon.
Yep.
Terrific. I'm Paul Feiner, Greenburgh Town Supervisor. We'll be right back.
WVOX. Now back to the Greenburgh Report on 1460 WVOX. Once again, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Hi, I'm Paul Feiner. I'm the Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and my guest is Pierre Guillet. And Pierre was recommended to me by a constituent, Esther Berkowitz, who resides in Greenburgh, and we're talking about a filmmaker who also is a tugboat captain, and he has produced films on the fringes, about people on the fringes of society. So his movie Bristol Fashion is about a young transgender woman who escapes her troubled home to find solace in a dilapidated boatyard. Once you wrote the script of Bristol Fashion, how long did it actually take to do the filming?
Oh boy, that was a long process. We had planned for about 30 days. It wound up being 36 days, but over the course of 6 months, all throughout the year of 2018. So it was just a bit over the amount of days, but the timeline was far stretched. We just had a lot of issues with weather. At one point, the camera fell in the water. I mean, we're working on the water, so there's always a lot of unknown variables.
And when you hired somebody who you said was somebody who lived in a homeless shelter as an actress, was it more difficult to train somebody who wasn't a professional actress?
Not at all. No, she was really magnetized by the role and captivated the camera and the words. I can't speak more highly of her. Everybody else had to catch up. It was really that simple.
So she's like a born actress.
Yeah, she's natural talent. Talent.
That is great. You know, if somebody is naturally talented, and this movie is unique, how do you get the world to watch it? You know, you're spending like a lot of time, a lot of money producing a film. Are you getting? How do people find out about it?
Well, now with social media, the access is open to everyone. That's why when the film was finally released, it was released digitally, and now slowly, as more people are hearing about it, we're able to do in-person screenings and conversations after the film. So that screening that we have on July 22nd, it's just through networks, through people that we've had conversations with about the film. They want to champion it, they want to support it, and we're going to have a long conversation after the film to talk about everything it brings up and encapsulates within the community.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the plot and a
Sure.
little bit more about the movie?
Yeah, so the way the star describes the film is different than the logline. She says it's about two straight men struggling with their attraction to a transgender woman. And while that explains it perhaps a little better, it takes the attention off of her, I feel, because she's the star of the show. And that's where her expertise and just life experience came into play with the script.
Is the LGBTQ community or the transgender community helping to promote the movie? And what are the difficulties that you're having?
We do have members of the communities helping us and trying to get the word out. There's a great artist named MC Hewlett who's transgender and also an artist, and she's been helping to push the film. She moderated a conversation after the film screening we had in Manhattan in January. But it's been difficult. Mainly it's a monetary issue. You know, when it comes down to marketing, it's really all about dollars and cents and getting the word out. But, you know, perhaps because I personally, as the director of the film, the producer of the film, I'm not part of the community, maybe there is some sort of hesitance to that. But, you know, we live in an age where there's access to everything for films. So you're really just competing for eyeballs at this point. So that's why shows like this, where you can help get the word out, screenings that we have. You know, we're also going to LA next month. It's having its LA theatrical premiere on August 25th. It's going to be playing for a week in a theater.
Have you tried the Jacob Burns?
I haven't. I know them. They're a great organization. I should definitely reach out to them.
Because isn't this the type of film that they would probably be interested in?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it mentions that you're, it's called an affirmative youth picture. That's the name of your company?
Yeah, that's the name of my company. I've had a production company for over 12 years now. It's a name that just sort of came to me in a sense of being motivated and young and supporting and affirming other young people, whether that be with what they want to do in life, who they want to be. And essentially that's also a theme of the film, is that she wants to get, in the film, the character wants to get into boats, and that's why she escapes and has this fantastical idea of taking a boat from New York to Florida. And really what it comes down to is knowing what you want to do and executing it, not letting anyone get in the way. If you have a passion for something, do it. Don't let anything stop you. And that's also another theme of the film.
That is great. You're focusing on people in the fringes of society. Is that a much harder role for a film producer? Like if you wrote did a film, a typical, say, love story that was sort of traditional, would you be more successful? Would you be driving around in a BMW or Mercedes?
Probably. I mean, you know, it's just not interesting to me. You know, where I grew up, the people I interacted with, that's sort of what I'm used to and interested in. You know, I have another film that's called The Book of Hearth, and it's about a Brooklyn artist who collected celebrity signatures in a Bible for 20 years as an art project. He dedicated his life to it. You know, that's more interesting to me than perhaps an artist that's already established and in galleries. Here's someone who's, you know, underground, still trying to make a name for himself, just like me.
Right. Did you, you know, as part of your education, did you take film, you know, when you were growing up?
Yeah, I actually graduated from Fordham.
Oh, I went to Fordham too.
Yeah, I saw that. That's amazing. Yeah, I graduated in 2013. I studied film there. I didn't find it was really necessary for me to really pursue it there. I learned a lot. I don't regret going there, obviously, but I don't think it's necessary for people who want to study film or be in film. I feel like now, especially with the internet, you know, you can learn almost anything you want there. Definitely go to school, get a degree, but you could study business or anything else and still fall where you love.
And really, the degree is just a piece of paper, and you could learn as much without, you know, you might be able to learn as much just appreciating life and gaining experience even without a degree, although it's harder to be successful without the degree.
Exactly. That's why younger members of my family, I encourage them just to go get the piece of paper. It's exactly what I say. And then you can figure it out, you know, but you focus on the things that you love, the things that make you happy, and that's what's most important.
I bet you, and since Fordham's a conservative school, I wonder what they would think of your film.
That would be interesting. I tried reaching out to them to see if they'd want to do a screening, and it was radio silence. So
it'd be interesting if they do a feature on you and the alumni.
I'd be happy to.
You know, magazine. You should reach out to them. In terms of the movie, you know, Bristol Fashion, are there lessons that people could learn from this? Just by like when they walk out of the film, when when the movie's over, how could that change other people's lives?
For me, it's really about acceptance of other people for who they are and who they want to be. If someone isn't physically harming anyone or themselves, then what does it matter if someone wants to identify as something that makes them happy? And I believe that. So I've had people that were transphobic that watched this film and after it respected people's pronouns because they watched this film and saw a personal story and was actually able to understand people's journeys and what they went through.
Right, because you're really not talking about, when you say transgender, people are looking at it as sort of like a title or a stereotype. But then when you are able to highlight an individual and their struggles and what they are overcoming, then they become human beings to people.
Exactly.
And that's what you really are trying to do in this film, is you're trying to get people to focus on the person and to realize that there's positives that so many people, have, and you shouldn't just put a stereotype or be mean to them or not give them a chance. I think it's really great that you gave a young woman who was homeless an opportunity. A lot of people wouldn't do that. How many people did you screen for that part?
The casting for that role took about 6 months, and I don't know the exact number, but at least 50 people, I would say, which maybe doesn't sound so much in the industry, but for us it was a lot.
Do you have to pay the actors equity rates when you're doing a film?
Yeah, not so much at my level, but yeah, we're trying. In the effort of trying to get the film out there, we hope we can generate some income with it, which we haven't yet. But
right. So I'm Paul Feiner. We have to take another break. I'm speaking with Pierre Guillet, who has a film presentation, Bristol Fashion screening and question and answer, July 22nd at 5 p.m. at PNT Knitwear, 180 Orchard Street in New York City. And we'll be right back after this break.
Now back to the Greenburgh Report on 1460 WVOX. Once again, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Hi, I'm Paul Feiner. I'm the Greenburgh Town Supervisor. My guest is Pierre Guillet, and tugboat captain, award-winning filmmaker from the Bronx, who recently produced the film Bristol Fashion. It's an affirmative youth picture about a young transgender woman who escapes her troubled home to find solace in a dilapidated boatyard. If somebody is, say, a little uncomfortable watching films like this, what would you say to them? Are some people a little reluctant to see it when they
Absolutely, yeah. People are reluctant. As I said before, I knew somebody who was transphobic and then watched it and then had a different opinion after watching it. That was a positive change. But, there's so much content out there. If just reading the description makes them uncomfortable and they don't want to watch it, that's fine. There's plenty of stuff for everyone,
Right, but at the same time, people should keep an open mind.
Absolutely.
And this film could encourage people to walk away feeling totally different, and to have a better appreciation about what somebody is going through.
Yeah.
In terms of the script, how many minutes is the film? And
the film is about 103 minutes. The script took a while to write because of the casting. We were trying to find somebody who was going to work on the script with us. So that's why we had a sort of structure. We had certain things that were in place. We had other actors. The other two main actors that are in the film, we had those already in place. They're close friends of mine. We knew they were going to be in it. So the script took a while, just in that sense of, we want to find the actress who can play the lead and then help us and bring those authentic human elements.
Could you go over a little bit just the, some of the scenes in the film?
Yeah, one of the scenes that people really gravitate towards is, after she's found this place to live, she's trying to find a job, and she goes to a job interview, and she hands over her ID, and she still hasn't changed her name yet on her driver's license. And it's a scene that's common in the lives of transgender people, or people even that just change their names for, health and safety reasons. So people really resonate with that scene because it is something that people within the community have to deal with on a day-to-day, explaining themselves. There's scenes of trauma, brief scenes of trauma. There's some funny scenes, and it also relates on another film that I'm working on where one of the actors, Richie DeFrisco, in the film, he plays someone who's trying to be an actor, and in real life, he's somebody who's trying to be an actor. Wow. And my new film that I'm editing now is a documentary about him, because during the COVID pandemic, he was studying to be, right before the pandemic, he was studying to be a fashion photographer. The pandemic hit, it went virtual. It wasn't for him, and he became a full-time drug dealer instead, all while trying to pursue acting. So that's what the film is about. It's a documentary, so it's all true.
Oh, that sounds, when is that going to be released?
Hopefully sometime next year. We're still working on the edit right now, but he's going to be at the talk, as will the star, Leah Naeli. They'll be there at the screening on July 22nd for a conversation.
Oh, that's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So you're really giving people an opportunity to talk about their stories. And I guess everybody has a story that's interesting.
Right, exactly. And it all comes down to, like I said before, I'm interested in what people are passionate about. So for the character in Bristol Fashion, we have a transgender character who's interested in boats. Why? Watch the film. In my next film, it's a documentary, The Book of Hearth. We have an atheist, former Jewish person carrying around a Bible, getting signatures in it. Why? What's the point? And then the film after that, we have a photographer turned drug dealer who wants to be an actor. Why? So those are sort of the questions that I'm interested in discovering. And even I like ambiguity. So I like where there's, I don't spoon feed everything. I want the audience to participate in it as well.
And you mentioned that the transgender woman who starred in Bristol Fashion, she also became very involved in the writing of the film. So do you also, when you produce these films, do you usually have the actors and actresses help you with the writing?
Yeah, I think I'm not an actor, but I know it's a craft and it's a job. And, some actors will have a script and they'll just show up and recite, lines on a page. And other actors will create backstories that are not on the page to help them develop the character themselves and actually contribute to the work. And that's what I'm interested in. So that's why in this case it was perfect. And even with the other characters that Richie played, that's why part of his character is based on his real life as well, that he was, an actor and everything.
Right. So The Book of Hearth is another film.
Yep.
And could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I was interested in celebrity and society and how that was connected, celebrity worship syndrome, and I was looking for a subject that I could use to tackle that subject. I was looking for a person to follow, a character, and I met artist David Greg Harth, who was doing this project for about 18 and a half years when I met him, and it made sense that I could make a film following him the last year he was doing this project, collecting signatures in this Bible, and try to uncover a little bit of what it means. And it tackles the subject that I was originally interested in with, celebrity and society. It's basically how society is obsessed with celebrities. They care more about shoes that Kim Kardashian is wearing than how their mother is doing.
That is actually true.
Yeah.
And if there's a celebrity who committed a crime, and if there's somebody who's like totally honest, people will gravitate to the celebrity sometimes.
Right. Exactly. And it's all a conversation too as to who this artist thinks is what he calls Bible worthy. Have they contributed to society enough or in a way that he thinks they should participate in his project? So it makes it even more interesting. Then the film is it just got accepted at the Festival of Cinema NYC in Queens, and it's going to be playing on August 6th at 6 p.m. at the Regal Theater in Queens.
You mentioned that you've won awards for your filmmaking.
Yep.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, for Book of Hearth, we played at the Flicker's Rhode Island International Film Festival last year. That was the world premiere for Book of Hearth, and we took first place in
That's
Best Documentary.
amazing.
Yeah, it's a great festival. They're Oscar qualifying. Not that that's what we're rooting for, but that's a big festival.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you must have been really proud. How many films did you have to compete with?
There was about 8,000 submissions, I think.
And you came in number one?
We came in number one for 8,000 total submissions. I don't know how many documentaries there were of that 8,000, but we came in number one for documentary. And then we also won Best Documentary at the Atlanta Underground Film Festival and at Kevin Smith's Smodcastle Film Festival.
So most of these, the first one, it was at a more conventional film festival?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Flickers Rhode Island is a well-known festival in the industry.
Right. So if you win like first prize in a competition, would it be much easier to get screenings all over? Does that help you market your films or raise money for films?
Absolutely, marketing for sure, because now we can say it's award-winning, it's factual, and it also helps with other festivals as well. Oh wow, they won there, so maybe we should play them as well. So that's helped, and we've since had our New York premiere at the Lower East Side Film Festival, and we also played at Coney Island Film Festival. And we're wrapping up our festival circuit right now with this new one, the Festival of Cinema in Queens.
Right, and each one gives awards out?
Yeah, most of them do. We've won 3 so far out of the 5.
That's
a good record.
excellent. That's an excellent record.
Yeah.
And when you do your PR for the films, do you highlight your award-winning films? Is that
You have to. Yeah, that's part of the game. We submitted Bristol Fashion to a lot of festivals, but we didn't play in any festivals. We didn't get accepted. That's why part of the reason why it was delayed in getting released as well. And that could be for a number of reasons. The film was finished right after COVID, and festivals were still trying to figure out what they are. Most of them were completely virtual at that point, not in person. Part of making movies and wanting to be a filmmaker is to have that theater experience. I still go to the movies with my kids,
Right. So if you were giving advice to somebody entering Fordham who wants to go into film, based on your experiences, what would you suggest?
I would say try to learn as much as you can. Try to make friends with people that you align with in terms of style and taste. Mm-hmm. And everyone says this now, but you just have to make your own film. No one's going to hand you any opportunity. And I surely learned that because I made a few short films while I was at Fordham. And no one took me seriously because I hadn't made a feature film yet. And now it's just as easy to make one and release it online. So that's what I would recommend.
Great. We have to take one final break, and then we'll be back with Pierre Guillet. And he is a tugboat captain, award-winning filmmaker from the Bronx, and he focuses on people on the fringes of society. I'm Paul Feiner. We'll be right back after this break.
WVOX.
Now back to the Greenburgh Report on 1460 WVOX. Once again, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Hi, I'm Paul Feiner. I'm the Greenburgh Town Supervisor. My guest has been Pierre Guillet. He's a tugboat captain and an award-winning filmmaker, and he produced a very interesting film, Bristol Fashion, about a young transgender woman escaping her troubled home to find solace in a dilapidated boatyard. And you mentioned that the star of the film was not a professional actress, but somebody who was homeless.
Yeah, she had been in a few films before, low budget, similar level as to my film, but she wasn't a working actress at the time. That's great. Now she's looking for another film. Did she win any? When you won, some awards. Do the actors and actresses also compete for awards in films? Yeah, at festivals they do, but we didn't play it. We didn't play with this film at any festivals, but there has been a lot of interest in a sequel to this film. There's sort of a cliffhanger at the end, and when we do these conversations after screening the film, people genuinely ask what happens afterwards, and we wanted to see more. So because of that, we have been working and developing an idea to continue the story and make a sequel to the film.
Great. You also mentioned you're a tugboat captain, and do you have some jobs lined up for the summer?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be in New Haven for a little bit. We haven't figured out the date yet, but it's life's a big juggle. I have 2 kids. I do film stuff. I do boat stuff. I just juggle everything as best I can, and boating's great. It's sort of like meditation in a way. At some points, sometimes it can be a little crazy, but I was in Newport, Rhode Island for 4 weeks. It's almost like a vacation.
Could you tell us a little bit about what it takes to be a tugboat captain? Like, what's the day like?
Yeah, we do something that's very niche and specific. We work on bridges. So I basically drive a tugboat that pushes a barge with inspection equipment for engineers to look at structures over the water. So once we're in place and the barge is secure, we have that sort of downtime to really enjoy the environment. And that's why I wouldn't go on a boat recreationally. People are saying, why wouldn't you get a boat? Like, would you buy a boat? And I said, no, absolutely not.
Right. You're in. So you could be on the water for a while.
I could be on the water for a while. I don't usually get seasick, but part of an element of that film was that the boat that she winds up getting, that she wants to take to Florida, there's no way in hell she would make it to Florida on that boat. That's a spoiler for the second film. But, it's all about dealing with the elements, your environment, And
it gives you, so when you're on the boat, you could actually spend some time meditating and sort of thinking about your next film.
Yeah, working on the script. The barge that's in the film was what I was using in Rhode Island. So it's a traveling set piece. Maybe we should start, if the film takes off and people really get excited about it, we can start charging tours of the barge, the set piece of the film.
Oh, wow. That's right. In terms of raising money to produce a film, does that take an awful lot of time, and is it very, very tough, and is it very stressful also?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's when I graduated Fordham, I spent 2 years trying to find funding for a feature film, and we weren't able to find funding. So that's why we shifted gears and wrote this film to make this, because it was using resources we had, raising very, very little money, and just going for it. Now, because I've finished 2 films, working on a third, I have a whole slate of other projects, 20-something projects that could be funded at any given time. Just a matter of finding interest from an investor that wants to work in this type of film. And the projects I have range from anything from horror to, love story, documentary, everything. It's just a matter of what I can get interest into the next.
So is it like, so in terms of your successes, or frustrations when you're reaching out to investors. It must be really, really tough.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially post-COVID, it's gotten even harder because you don't know what's going to happen in the world, where people were maybe more willing to donate or contribute, X amount of dollars. They're holding on to that liquid capital that they have because who knows what could happen, with the wildfire smoke and, all these natural disasters. People are, rightfully, I think, smartly holding on to what money they have, especially if they have families and stuff.
Right. The world is sort of changing right now. It used to be that everybody went to the movie theaters, and now people are watching more movies through streaming and all that. Is this a bad time to go into the movie business, the filmmaking business?
It's good and bad because, like I said, the access to the film has never been better. You can make a film, put it out there for a little money, and then continue on to the next one. It has been tough just to get butts in seats. You're fighting for eyeballs. At a festival, they'd rather play a film maybe that has more star power or has, an executive producer that's a big name. We try. You try to get the word and spread the word out. And yeah, there's good and bad to where the industry is now.
Are there other magazines or publications that you could get reviewed? Is that a way of promoting?
Yeah, it's more podcasts now more than anything, or shows like this. Because, magazines, the print industry is another one that's been suffering and transitioning over the last few years, or the last decade, if you will, maybe more than that. But, yeah, podcasts, reviews, that's all a matter of bringing more attention to it.
And also with social media, it used to be that, say, daily, like the New York Times or the New York or a newspaper would print something and everybody would talk about it. Now there's so much social media out there, it's hard to get people to really focus. Which social media outlets do you take advantage of?
It's mainly Instagram that I use, so you can follow the film at Bristol Fashion Film. Also on Twitter for both the other films, for Book of Hearth, and that's at the Book of Hearth. Social media is a great tool. It's a great tool. I highly recommend using it. But in the same regard, it's you're fighting for the attention.
Right, and again, it's not expensive, as expensive.
Right, exactly. With marketing, if we were to get an ad or even a feature in New York Times, I don't even know how much that would cost. I wouldn't even want to know. We had plenty of conversations with marketing companies that market films, and the numbers we were quoted are just astronomical.
In terms of the costs, to market a film.
Yeah, no, it's how you close it. It's how you get the film out there. I mean, it's really important. So that's why doing shows like this, having screenings even after the film's already come out digitally, it's important because if just one more person finds out about it, that's worth the time.
That's great. So if I post this on different social media outlets, you never know. You could get, if you're working on getting one new person at a time.
Exactly, and hopefully they see the potential in me as a filmmaker where, it's a lot to complete a film. I mean, we started filming in 2018. The film came out in 2022, and here we are in 23, and I'm still promoting it. That's a long commitment for a film.
As a graduate at Fordham, who studied film, do you stay in touch with any of your former professors, and do they give you any advice?
I do have one professor that I still talk to this day. He's a really good friend of mine, Nelson Kim. He came to one of my festival screenings for the Book of Hearth. He was amazing. He still is. He's a filmmaker. I do have some close friends that I went to Fordham with that I still talk to. But yeah, you hope that you can make long-lasting relationships with people and your collaborators. So I'm fortunate that I do have some great ones.
That's great. We only have about a minute left, and I'm wondering if there's any final comments you have.
Come and watch the film on July 22nd. I will be there. The star of the film will be there. Richie will be there. And we're going to have a great conversation. We'll have posters available for free. And I would love to talk with people, new audience members, people that want to know more about the film, and myself happy to.
And how much is the tickets to the screening?
That screening is absolutely free.
That is great. So it's July 22nd at 5 p.m. at PNT Knitwear, 180 Orchard Street in New York City. And you have another one coming up also?
Yep, my other film, The Book of Hearth, is going to be playing at the Festival at Cinema NYC on Sunday, August 6th at 6 p.m.
And what's the cost to watch that?
That I'm not sure. I think tickets just went on sale today. So if you go to our Instagram page at The Book of Hearth, all the links you can follow to get tickets for that.
That is great. Well, I really want to thank you so much for joining us on this program today. It's really interesting. I wish you good luck, and I think it's nice that you're empathetic and are giving people other chances. And I think it's great that you're also featuring people who are homeless and people who've had problems, and you're letting them tell their stories, which will change their lives for the better.
Yes, hopefully. And thanks for having me. Thank you to Esther for recommending, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
I'm Paul Feiner, Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and I'll see everybody next week. Thank you.